Raj ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtottara Sata Shishyamal His Divine Grace the Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय।
Jai.
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय।
Jai.
वृंदावन धाम की जय।
Jai.
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय।
Jai.
गंगा माई की जय।
Jai.
यमुना माई की जय।
Jai.
तुलसी देवी की जय।
Jai.
भक्ति देवी की जय।
Jai.
समवेता भक्तवृंद की जय।
Jai.
गौर प्रेमानंदे।
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol.
Gaur Hari Bol.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyati Shatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
I wanted to review the translation of the prayer. I don't know if we can still do that. Okay, great. Great. Prananath Prabhu, can you read this translation?
Yes. When the rising sun appeared in the east, the jewel of the twice-born Lord Gaurasundara awakened, and taking his devotees with him, he went all over the countryside, towns, and villages. The mridangas whole resounded tathai, tathai, and the jhanja, large metal kartalas that looked like small cymbals in that kirtan played in time. Lord Gauranga's golden form slightly trembled in ecstatic love of Godhead, and his footbells jingled. All the devotees chanted the names Mukunda, Madhava, Yadava, and Hari, their mouths being filled with the vibrations. They would announce to the still sleeping people, "You spend your nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. You have achieved such a rare human body, but you do not care for this gift. You remain not serving the darling of Yashoda and slowly fall through your last moments to death. With every rising and setting of the sun, a day passes and is lost. Then why do you remain idle and not serve the Lord of the heart? This temporary life is full of various miseries. Take shelter of the holy name as your only business. To penetrate the darkness of ignorance and bless everyone's heart, the holy name has risen like shining sun. Drink the pure nectar of the holy name of Krishna. There is nothing but the name to be had in the 14 worlds. It has filled the soul of Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Back to Chaitanya there. Thank you. Mother Nilambari, I see you're here. Would you mind chanting the Bengali? Or are you occupied?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I am doing puja.
Okay.
So I will finish next week and then I'll do it sometime, some other time. I
Some
can
other
read.
time.
Yeah, I can read the first one.
Okay,
But
please.
আর দিনে এক ভিক্ষুক আইলা মাগিতে প্রভুর নৃত্য দেখি নৃত্য লাগিল করিতে।
On another day, a mendicant came to beg alms from the Lord's house. But when he saw the Lord dancing, he also began to dance. Text 102.
প্রভুর সঙ্গে নৃত্য করে পরম উল্লাসে প্রভু তারে প্রেম দিল প্রেম রসে ভাসে।
He danced with the Lord because he was favored by love of Krishna. Thus he flowed in the mellows of love of Godhead.
আর দিনে জ্যোতিষ সর্বজ্ঞ এক আইল তাহার সম্মান করি প্রভু প্রশ্ন কইল।
On another day, an astrologer came who is said to know everything, past, present, and future. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with all honor and put this question before him. Purport. Brahmanas generally used to become astrologers, Ayurvedic physicians, teachers, and priests. Although highly learned and respectable, such Brahmins went from door to distribute their knowledge. A Brahmin would first go to a householder's home to give information about the functions to be performed on a particular tithi or date. But if there were sickness in the family members would consult the Brahmin as a physician, and the Brahmin would give instruction and some medicine. Often, since the Brahmins were expert in astrology, people would also be greatly inquisitive about their past, present, and future. Although the Brahmin appeared at Lord Chaitanya's house as a beggar, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received him with great respect because he was a qualified Brahmin who knew the astrological science perfectly. Although Brahmins would go door to door just like beggars, they were honored as very respectable guests. This was the system in Hindu society 500 years ago, during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This system was current even 100 years ago, even 50 or 60 years ago, when we were children. Such Brahmanas would visit householders like humble beggars, and people would derive great benefit from the mercy of such Brahmins. The greatest benefit was that a householder could save a great deal of money from being spent on doctor bills, because the Brahmanas, aside from explaining the past, present, and future, could ordinarily cure all kinds of diseases simply by giving instructions and some medicine. Thus, no one was bereft of the benefit of a first-class physician, astrologer, and priest. The important members of ISKCON should give careful attention to our Dallas school, where children are being taught Sanskrit and English to become perfect Brahmanas. If they are actually trained as perfect Brahmanas, they can save society from rogues and ruffians. Indeed, people can live happily under the protection of qualified Brahmins. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita gives special stress to the division of society. Chatur varnyam maya shishtam guna karma vibhagasha. Unfortunately, some people are now claiming to be Brahmins simply by birthright with no qualifications. Therefore, the entire society is in chaos. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Shapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktabinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So before speaking, I'd like to ask the permission and blessings from all the devotees, but particularly those who are senior by advancement in Krishna consciousness or age. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. This purport of Srila Prabhupada extols the benefit of a Vedic society where the head of the society is qualified Brahmins. If there's the comparison is often made of society with the physical body, with the head being Brahmins, the arms being the Kshatriyas, the belly being the Vaishyas, and the legs being Shudras. So all parts of the body are important. If you have a problem, a sore on your foot, you'll take care of it. It's very important. But of course, of all the parts, the head is relatively the most important, because if the head is crazy or you don't have a head, then you're in big trouble. So in Vedic society, the Brahmins were given special respect for that purpose, for that reason, because they could direct society in a proper way so that people would be actually happy in this life and the next. That's why the Brahmins were given so much respect. Also, it said, the verse is there that we often chant, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahman Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Brahmanya Dev, Lord Krishna, is described as the Lord of the Brahmins, and he's the Lord of all spiritual energy as well. Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahman Hitaya Cha. He especially is especially kind to the cows and the Brahmins. Cows are given first, actually, then the Brahmins. And Jagatitaya Krishna, and he's very kind to all the universe as well. But cows and Brahmins were specifically singled out. Govindaya Namo Namaha. We offer our respectful obeisances to that personality who's known as Govinda. So today is the auspicious, very auspicious appearance anniversary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is one of the important acharyas, teachers in our line of disciplic succession. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sa kaleneha mohata yogo nashta parantapa. That the knowledge of spiritual life, actual spiritual life, is understood or received in the disciplic succession from one spiritual master to disciple. Commenting on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day back in 1971, Srila Prabhupada emphasized that spiritual life, spiritual knowledge is not something we can arrive at by speculation, imagination. The Vedic system is to receive the knowledge from an authorized source. Just as Srila Prabhupada is speaking here about getting knowledge from the Brahmin on medical matters. So say you have some disease, well, he mentioned that you can speculate or try to figure it out yourself, but the simple method, direct method, is to go to a doctor. Or if you have a legal problem, you can try to figure it out yourself, but the simple direct method is to go to a lawyer. So similarly, the information, knowledge about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and one's relationship with Him can most easily be understood by hearing submissively from an authorized source in the disciplic succession. So one such perfect authorized sources is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, our great-grandfather, spiritual master, who appeared in the Nadia district in a town called, that time it was called Ulagram, now it's called Birnagar, in 1838. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in that discussion and talk about Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day that we should adore and we should worship Bhaktivinoda Thakur's birthday, because in the modern age, he reintroduced the disciplic succession from Caitanya Mahaprabhu. 500 years ago, Caitanya Mahaprabhu taught this philosophy, but within 200 years, because this material world is so made that whatever you introduce, in due course, it will deteriorate. You make a nice house, but after 100 years, 200 years, or nowadays, after 50 years, it becomes dilapidated. That is nature's way. Time will destroy everything. Now, the British Empire, such a big, vast empire, is finished. Kala, time, will finish everything. Anything material, it has birth, it has growth, it has got some opulence, then dwindling, then finished. That is the way of material nature. So we are interested in spiritual subjects. Therefore, the process is one has to accept a bona fide spiritual master. That is our process. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is an acharya. He has left behind many important books. Maybe you know that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his daily routine was he would go to work as a deputy magistrate in Puri while he was stationed there, and then he would return about 5 o'clock, right, then take his meal, then take rest at 8 o'clock, sleep till midnight, and then get up and write for 5-6 hours in the morning time. And in so doing, he wrote over 100 books, which reestablished the sublime philosophy of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, which had been, as mentioned here, lost in the course of time. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur at his time, in his early youth, there was a movement in Bengal that was pushing for English education. There were several famous educators in Bengal that were rejecting conservative or traditional type of education, which included learning Sanskrit and understanding the Vedas, and encouraging the study of Western kind of philosophies and information. And their argument was that the study of Sanskrit and the Vedic ideas was of no practical use. And they got many adherents to their philosophies, and eventually it was established all throughout the British Raj there in India. But here we see in this purport that there's very practical use for Sanskrit education, even on the level of being an Ayurvedic physician, going door to door, someone who's qualified in Brahminical practices. They can give advice on medical matters, physical health, and also about one's past, present, and future. Very practical. That's why, astrology is called Jyotirved. You probably know. So Jyoti means, what's that? Light, light. So if you're walking around in the dark, you hit your head or you stub your toe. But if you have a light on, if the light is on, then you know exactly where to go. So similarly, this Brahminical education would include these things. And Srila Prabhupada talked about that and giving attention to that in our schools in Gurukula. This is an interesting point. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he reestablished the purpose of Vedic education by teaching Krishna consciousness far and wide, writing over 100 books, composing many bhajans and songs and poems in the glorification of Lord Krishna and Lord Caitanya. I would like to read some things about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur from his own words on this day, if you don't mind. What do you think? Okay.
Yes, sir.
What was that? Rajesh
Bhajan Govinda Das Prabhu. Yes,
Yeah.
please try to read this as Bhaktivinoda Prabhu.
Yeah, sometimes
glorifying.
we'll talk, but these are his own words, so this is very important things. Okay. Yeah. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Sometimes people say Thakur Bhaktivinoda also. He was known in secular circles as, Kedaranath Datta. There's Datta. And as an ideal acharya in the Grihastha ashram, he oversaw an extensive family and discharged important responsibilities as a senior government officer, yet was still prodigiously active in Krishna service. Every evening after returning from work, he took his meal, slept from 8 until midnight, and then wrote for several hours. By such dedication, throughout his life, he composed over 100 books in Sanskrit, Bengali, and English. He also preached widely among both learned and common folk, and was instrumental in relocating and restoring the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya in Mayapur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had resuscitated Gaudiya Vaishnavism from a 3-century gloom, during which it had come to be practiced largely in a superficial manner, much removed from the genuine process grounded in scriptural regulations, and had been so severely misrepresented by rogues that most educated and discerning people wanted nothing to do with it. Nearly all who deemed themselves Vaishnavas were followers of diverse Apa Sampradayas, that means outside Sampradayas, whose butchering of Lord Chaitanya's teachings functioned on exploitation and misplaced sentiments. The severely corrupted forms of Vaishnav Dharma gave a cloak of religious piety to various forms of sexual perversity that otherwise could not have prospered in the social climate of the era, which was the Victorian era. Thus, in popular parlance, the designation Vaishnav had come to denote ignorance and dissoluteness. The remaining few genuine devotees were either householders or reclusive Babajis who shunned bad association and did not attempt to reform others. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was different. He not only recognized the superlative value of real Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but uncovered, rejuvenated, propagated, and defended the authentic teachings and practices of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. While some educated and religiously committed Hindus of his generation were inspired by the new intercourse with the West to promote Hindu values and teachings to the people thereof, and some Gaudiyas find that the fulfillment of Lord Chaitanya's prophecy of global Sankirtan was nigh, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur took up the practical task of scrutinizing the theories of Occidental thinkers in the light of Gaudiya theology, thereby presenting Mahaprabhu's message in a radically new and opposite context. He longed for and foresaw events that others might have considered fanciful dreams. Now here's what he said. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing. The Dharma preached by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is universal and not exclusive. The principle of Kirtan as the future church of the world invites all classes of men without distinction or caste or clan to the highest cultivation of the spirit. This church, it appears, will spread worldwide and replace all sectarian churches which exclude outsiders from the precincts of the mosque, church, or temple. So I'll stop along the way, and people, if you have any comments or questions or
what is the last sentence? Can you please repeat to us? The church is about.
Yeah, sure. This church, that's the church of the Sankirtan of Caitanya, of the holy name, it appears will spread worldwide and replace all sectarian churches, which exclude outsiders from the precincts of the mosque, church, or temple. Got some observation, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear properly that statement. So
Oh,
it
thank
is
you.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prediction also in that.
Yes, it includes a prediction here. Yeah. Sometimes this is quoted as one of, he made several predictions, as you probably know. He also mentioned that very soon there would be a Senapati Bhakta who would carry the message of Lord Chaitanya around the world. Now, this particular paragraph, it reminds me of the second verse of the Shastaka. Nam nama kari bahuda nija sarva shaktis tartarpita niyamata smarane nakala. That there's no, oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to the living beings, and therefore you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda, etc. And in these names you've invested Sarva Shakti, all your transcendental potency, and there are no hard or fast rules for chanting your holy names. You know, sometimes in the Vedic system, it was restricted who could chant the mantras. Who would chant the mantras? Generally, the Brahmins were in charge, right? Here he says, all classes of men, would be the principle of Kirtan as the future church of the world invites all classes of men without distinction of caste, clan, to the highest cultivation of knowledge. So everybody can chant. Young person can chant, old person can chant, Brahmin can chant, Shudra can chant, Mlecha can chant. Everybody, it doesn't matter their background, just the beginning principle, the foundational principle is chanting the holy names together in congregation. So that's something. I don't know if we have any Gujarati people here, but in Gujarat, they have a class of Brahmins called Annavil Brahmins. Have you heard of these? So they have some history that some say that they offended Lord Ramchandra, so he allowed them to sit in these sacrifices, but not to chant the mantras. So even Annavil Brahmins can chant mantras, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So everybody can chant, doesn't matter. Okay. There are no hard or fast rules in that sense. Lord Chaitanya did not advent himself to liberate only a few men in India. Rather, his main objective was to emancipate all living entities of all countries throughout the entire universe and to propagate the eternal Dharma. Lord Chaitanya states in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, in every town, country, and village, my name will be sung. There is no doubt that this in unquestionable order will come to pass. They're saying it's an order, not only a prediction, but an order. Although there is still no pure society of Vaishnavas, Lord Chaitanya's prophetic words will in a few days come true, I am sure. Why not? Nothing is absolutely pure in the beginning. From imperfection, purity will come about. Very soon, the unparalleled path of Harinam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the planet. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, Prussian, and American people will take up banners, mridanga, and kartal, and perform kirtan through the streets and towns. When will that day come? Oh, for the day when the Western fair-skinned men from one side, while chanting Jai Sachinandana Ki Jai, will extend their arms and embracing the devotees of our country, coming from another side, treat us with brotherly feelings. When will that day be? On such a day, they will say, our dear Aryan brothers, we have taken shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, who is the ocean of transcendental love. Kindly embrace us. When will that day come? That day will witness the holy transcendental Vaishnava Prema to be the only Dharma. And like rivers meeting the ocean, all narrow creeds will mix with the unlimited Vaishnava Dharma. When will that day come? Well, that's the end of that. Questions, comments, observations? No? No?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is
Shashi
Shashi Shekhar
Shekhar Das.
Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. On the point of the idea of secularism, so what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying is that it's not like a religion, it's like a birthright in a sense, where secularism would mean like a religion, like Christianity or Muslim or Hindu or something like that. That's what secularism means.
No, that's sectarian. You got secular and sectarian mixed up.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That's what I'm trying to understand. Like what specifically is he saying? Like,
Yeah, secular, sectarian, only we understand the truth and all others are misguided, and we have to convert them to our idea. So Srila Prabhupada would often say that our point isn't to convert Christians to Hindus or Muslims to Hindus, but the understanding is that by chanting the holy names of God, that one's spiritual consciousness will be reawakened, regular chanting of the holy names of God. And that's the point made here. And,
okay.
Those who are serious about understanding deeply, they can study this universal principles of becoming a servant of God as promulgated by Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. And they give greater information. Srila Prabhupada would often give the example of a pocket dictionary and a large Oxford dictionary. Both are dictionaries, but the big one, you'll find quite a lot more information. Well, he would sometimes compare the different religions in that way. Yeah. Does that help at all?
Yes. Okay.
And secular means mundane. That's what the secular.
Okay, so like non-religious, secular.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
not involving. I mean, religious. Religious can be taken in the form of your dharma, which is something intrinsic for everybody, but it's also sometimes, just like any word you use, it's in context. So sometimes Prabhupada would cite religion as being, the dharma, but also it can be considered like a sectarian approach. What's Hinduism, Hinduism, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, etc. Actual religion is understanding our eternal relationship with Krishna and acting in that relationship and getting to the result of that. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So an important point also here is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur Bhaktivinoda, even though he was not at least for most of his life, he was not a renunciant. Many in our line are renunciants. The four heads of the four sampradayas were all sannyasis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi, and others surrounding him, many of his main followers were sannyasis. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a householder for most of his life. And so that shows it's an exhibition of the principle that Lord Chaitanya said to Ramananda Roy, because in his travels to South India, he met Ramananda Roy, who was not born of a Brahmin family, and was not a renunciate of any means, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested that he instruct him in the science of Krishna consciousness. And Ramananda Roy was quite hesitant because, oh, you're a Brahmin and you're a sannyasi and I'm a householder and I'm coming from a lower background. How can I teach you? And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, you know the verse. What is that verse? Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyashi, Shudra Kenyanoi, Jai Krishna Tattaveta Se Guru Hoy. Whether you're Brahmin, Vipra, Kibanyashi, or Sannyasi, Shudra, or Shudra, whatever you are, Jai, that person, Tattvaveta, Se Guru Hoy. If you know the truth of Krishna, we know Krishna consciousness and truth, then you're a guru. They are guru. So Srila Prabhupada comments on that verse that Krishna consciousness is not, someone who actually knows the science of Krishna is not on the bodily platform. So thinking of a guru on a bodily platform or any Vaishnav, any real Vaishnav on the bodily platform is a mistake. It's an offense. Hellish mentality. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a perfect example of a householder who was involved in government service at the time, and also fully engaged in Krishna consciousness preaching activities throughout his life. So we may know a little bit about the background of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. His family lineage on his father's side, the Datta side, there was a person, Purushottam Datta, who came to Bengal at the request of the king, and he was one of the Brahma Kayastas. Brahma Kayastas, there's a lineage coming down from Lord Brahma. So that was named Purushottam Datta. And then his descendant was a famous person, Raj Krishnananda Datta, who was an associate of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Lord Nityananda Prabhu, when he traveled in Bengal, he stayed at the house of Raja Krishnananda Datta. And so the father's side was primarily the Vaishnav followers. Then, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur's father, Ananda Chandra Datta, he because of some difficulties that occurred in the home, the Ulagram where they were staying, there was he traveled for getting more sustenance, maintenance. So he was gone for the first couple of years of his life, and later he died early. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's father died early. His mother also died early. His siblings also, many of them died because of the outbreak of cholera in that area. So he was raised, a lot of his youth was spent in Calcutta under the tutelage of a person named Kale Prasad Ghosh. What was it? Kale Prasad Ghosh, who was the editor of the Amrita. There's a magazine newspaper in Calcutta, very famous newspaper. So he was the editor, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur would help edit that magazine even as a young boy. That was his background. On his mother's side, there were more involved with worship of goddess Kali, as is often done in West Bengal. So his place of Ulagram is in the Nadia district. It's about south of Mayapur, maybe 20 miles south of Mayapur in the Nadia district. And during Srila Prabhupada's time, he visited one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's sons, Lalit Prasad, who was there after there was the big cholera epidemic in Ulagram. Everybody left. Everybody left there, and so the town was deserted for maybe 50 years. Then people came back and repopulated the town, and this time it was renamed Birnagar, which it's named now. But still, the ancestral maternal home of Bhaktivinoda Thakur was still there, and Lalit Prasad, one of the sons of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, was there. Srila Prabhupada visited there during his time, and there was some arrangement that Lalit Prasad was going to donate the land in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's maternal ancestral residence to ISKCON to build a temple, but that never took place. His other people around him didn't support that, so it never happened. But more recently, in about 10 years ago, the proprietors of that place in Birnagar, where they had some effects of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, agreed that ISKCON could take charge or photograph all of the personal letters that still existed of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That's called the Bhakti Vedanta Research Institute. So they have or Bhaktivedanta Research Center. So they have done that. It's centered in Calcutta, and they have many pictures or some of the original manuscripts of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, mostly in Bengali, with some in English also, of his works from that time, original works. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So you've probably heard some. There's also quite a bit of stories about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He wrote his own autobiography in a letter to Lalit Prasad. It was an autobiography called Swalikite Jivani, and that was in Bengali, and it was recently translated. It was into English again by devotees in the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. I looked, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find a copy of it, but they say that it's available. Perhaps it's available in India. I don't know. Well, much of the information that we get about Bhaktivinoda Thakur comes from that particular work, which was a letter to his son Lalit Prasad. More other information also, of course, comes in the disciplic succession from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his son, but also his spiritual successor, who took the mission of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and began spreading the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the order of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Lord Chaitanya all throughout India and beyond to the Western world, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to do, as mentioned in this reading we had. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave quite a bit of information and understanding of the meaning and true meaning of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy that he received from his father and spiritual preceptor, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Hare Krishna. Do you have other questions or comments or observations or anything? Yes.
For glorifying Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Every time we hear about him, it feels so much of inspiration. Every time when we hear about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, it's so much of inspiration. How kind of single-handedly revived this movement.
Yeah.
We think this is the current time is the challenge, but he must have gone through his own challenges, so many challenges in his time. So establishing bhakti and maintaining it needs all constant endeavor. Complacency is not the solution. Now think everything is ready.
Yeah. Not only for in the society, but also for ourselves too.
Yeah. And
Time can deteriorate things. Yeah.
and
So
also
Srila Prabhupada used to often say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the pioneer of the Krishna consciousness movement in the modern age.
if we have to give a book, particular book for those are secular and all this, which book you recommend of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Jaiva Dharma? Or Jaiva Dharma is very deep. Which book is small book which you can give it out?
Well, the Lord Chaitanya, his life and precepts, was the book that Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent around the world, and also to McGill University in Canada. That was on the year of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, 1896. So Lord Chaitanya, his life and precepts, which was he had previously written Gaura Leela Smarana, remembrance of Lord Chaitanya's Leelas. And the introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam practically is is taken from that life and precepts of Lord Chaitanya. You know that?
Yeah, I didn't know it came from there, but yeah, no, Prabhupada wrote Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime.
Right in the introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Jaiva Dharma it's written in the form of a novel, with questions being presented back and forth. So it's during the ISKCON's time, early when we go to Mayapur, though, we were cautioned that there were books that were printed before 1940 or something were considered. You can get those of Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but later books were not encouraged to follow because they're apparently, at least at that time, I mean, I don't have any reference for this, but that there were some changes made, something like that. A Jaiva Dharma is one. Yeah.
So books
First Go
were
ahead.
written on before 1940. That's what you're saying. That should be accepted.
Yes. Because the different branches of the Gaudiya Math reprinted some of the books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, different ones, sometimes in English, sometimes in Bengali. So there was caution about some of the later printings of them. I don't have specific information about which books, though, but I just remember that. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Just caution to be made.
Of
Of course, everything, we will, we get information about Thakur Bhaktivinoda also from Srila Prabhupada. He talks about his activities also. So I was reading that discussion and lecture Srila Prabhupada gave on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day, where he emphasized, the first thing he emphasized was the importance of disciplic succession and descending knowledge. And, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he systematized and rejuvenated the Vaishnava theology, he made something called Dashmula. Dashmula means 10 roots of the Vaishnava philosophy. And the first one is that the way to understand, to get perfect knowledge, is through the understanding of the Vedas. It's the first one, not by speculation. And how do we get perfect knowledge? Through the Vedas, from the spiritual teacher, the guru. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upidikshanti de jnanam jnanina tattvadarshana. So that's the first thing. And then the second of the Dashmulas is that Lord Krishna is the supreme truth and there's the idea of achintya beda bed tattva is also there, and that the living entities are not the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're his separated parts, and their function is eternally to serve Krishna, and that the goal of serving Krishna is to develop love of Krishna. These ideas are there in the 10 Dashmulas that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur systematized. As far as I know, Srila Prabhupada hasn't commented directly on those, but certainly they're weaved throughout the Vaishnava philosophy that we receive from Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you.
Some other activities of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur that you'll find is that apparently, because he was posted as the sub-magistrate in Puri, the king there was taking some of the donations meant for the worship of Lord Jagannath and using it for himself. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur found out. So he approached the king and he insisted that he stop that and use and repent by using his own resources for improving the worship of Lord Jagannath, which the king did. But some say that he did so very begrudgingly and actually secretly tried to have the demise of Bhaktivinoda Thakur by having some kind of Brahmin yajna. But in response, his own family had great problems. Some death in the family, they say. That's very interesting. Because ordinarily, you go to a king, you don't correct the king. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was so sure that the importance of using the resources of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his service is more important than the worry of getting the ire of the potentate there. Then later, when he was planning to retire, he wanted originally to go to Vrindavan. You probably heard this, and retire to Vrindavan. But Lord Chaitanya said, it came to him in a dream and said, "Oh, I see that you're planning to go to Vrindavan. Yes, you'll go to Vrindavan at the right time, but I have some work for you to do first in Mayapur, in Navadvip. If you could, what do you think about that? So yes, you can go to Vrindavan later, but here, what do you think? I'll have you go to Mayapur first. I have some work for you." So that's one of the factors that prompted him, according to his own words, that prompted him to try to get transferred from, Orisha to the area of the Nadia district, and he got placed in Krishnanagar, which is not far from Mayapur. And then from Krishnanagar, he would go use his free time to excavate or to research the actual birth site of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is one of his very important contributions. And along with this purport that we have today, that said that the Brahmins were going door to door, not as beggars, but very, very respectable people, and they would engage people in Krishna consciousness, but also give them knowledge of astrology and medicine. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, when he rediscovered the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, he went door to door and requested people to support the construction of that temple in Yoga Pit. It's called there's the Gaurgada, no, that's Krishna, Gauranga Vishnu Priya Devi is there. And then Jagannath Mishra's house is also there. And so the temple, the current temple there was rebuilt also after the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, just down the road from the Mayapur temple. Some people say, well, how come ISKCON doesn't have shouldn't ISKCON be where the Mayapur, Antardvip is? And Srila Prabhupada's response to that was, because it's on a different island. It's on the Lord Chaitanya's birth site is Antardvip, on Antardvip. And the Mayapur Chandradori Mandir is on, what island?
Rudra something?
Yes, Rudradvip. Yeah. So somebody said, you should have had your place on Antardvip. And Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada said, well, which is more important, birth or activities? Activities, Lord Chaitanya's activities were there. That was his response anyway. So, of course, both are important. And we respect the appearance place established by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and also the activities. So when we chanted that prayer, Udila Aruna Purabhabhage, Dvijamani Goda Amani Jage, Bhakata Samaha Loya, that's where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was performing his Sankirtan on Rudradvip also. That's good. Other comments, questions about Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Whenever I think about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this question comes into my mind always, that he secured Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's all the teachings, everything he secured, but how was he able to do that? Did he take someone's help? How was it?
It's actually, it's a good question, a very good question. So he did study with different teachers. He had his own initiating spiritual master, and he also had guidance from Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji, who was considered, he was a Babaji, which means he was usually a recluse, but he would regularly stay at Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house, and they would have spiritual discussions on these issues. So it was his own research, but also guidance from the previous Acharya, which was Jagannath Das Babaji.
Thank you. Thank you.
He actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur went to Vrindavan also to get the association of Jagannath Das Babaji early at that time. So he didn't just see him in Navadvip, but he also had association there when he visited Vrindavan, because Jagannath Das Babaji was staying in Vrindavan for many years, but after his discussions with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he came to reside in Mayapur, Navadvip area. Other questions, comments? Yes. That's it? So today, I think there's fast till noon, right? Prananath Prabhu. Something?
No, Prabhu, Acharya Prabhu just sent a link for downloading the file of autobiography of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So
Oh, okay, great. I didn't see that.
I'll share it in the group. He just sent it to me.
Is this the recent one? Or we'll see. Okay. Okay. You can read that today, or follow the instructions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Chant the holy names. Chant prayers to Lord Krishna and Lord Caitanya. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhye cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Wait.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. But I would like to know who translated it sometimes.
I'll check.
I don't know this in the divine
I
organs.
think this translation is Shukavak.
Oh, really?
I
Shukavak.
think so, yes.
I didn't know Shukavak translated it. I know he has it in his biography, his Hindu encounters with modernity, and in that he okay.
I'll share the link in an email, maybe. That better.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.